Welcome to Speaking Cinema, serious movie Jibber Jabber, a movie podcast coming to you live and undead from the creaky old mausoleum that is Hollywood, California, America. Follow us through our Spectral Communications or on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud. Hit us up on Facebook and Twitter at Speaking Cinema. Don't forget Instagram. Speaking Cinema is the username. It is the jewel of our social media experience.
Yeah, if you got that spectral imaging power, you can get us on there too.
Yeah. I mean,
we're there.
Those guys,
you can get anything.
Yeah, those guys don't. You don't need to tell them. They're already ahead of us
they
on
know.
that. You know.
Yeah.
I am your host, Mr. Jibber Jabber, Necromancer Esquire. With me today, as always, resident undead zombie flesh eater, Kev of the Dead. Kev. This week on the Jibber Jabber, you don't become a hero by being normal. 2012's ParaNorman. Continuing with our 2-month-long serious spooky Jibber Jabber Halloween horror. Continuing our series of animated films as well. ParaNorman.
Checking off a lot of boxes with this episode.
And a new box for stop motion animated feature.
Yes.
And probably not the last.
We'll see.
Question mark?
If the art keeps going.
If we get to 100, we're gonna do
your stop.
TurboCop. We're gonna do my
Yep.
We'll have to Skype in the other guys, but yeah, it's gonna be good. ParaNorman, starring Cody Schmidt McPhee, Anna Kendrick, Casey Affleck, Leslie Mann, Jeff Garlin, Chris
Mitz Plaza. McLovin himself.
McLovin himself. I can't say his last name, so we're just gonna call McLovin, and John Goodman. Directed by Chris Butler and Sam Fell. Written by Chris Butler. Produced by
Leica Films.
And distributed by Focus Features, which is the art house branch of Universal.
The Fox Searchlight of Universal.
I believe that's what it's used for. There's rumors that it's gonna change, but you know, I base my whole life on unsubstantiated rumors, so good enough. Speaking of, if you're not familiar, a misunderstood boy takes on ghosts, zombies, and grown-ups to save his town from centuries-old curse. That sounds like everything that I want to watch.
That's as simple a premise as it comes.
This is the second film from Leica, the revolutionary stop-motion animated company based out of Hillsboro, Oregon, which, you know, is the mecca of stop-motion animation. They also made 2007's Coraline and 2014's Box Trolls, and in 2016 they have scheduled Kumbo and the Two Strings.
Heard some interesting things about that.
I have heard nothing, so why don't you indulge me?
They've showed some concept art and described the story. It's like a almost martial arts samurai fantasy for kids, apparently. And for big kids like myself.
If I was to guess what that movie would have been about, that would not have been in my first million guesses. That being said, that's a good answer to the question of what is this movie about.
The concept art is stunning. Like, it looks really cool. So I'm excited to see how they pull it off.
So we've talked about Leica before. We talked about them on the Rango episode, even though we were talking about a Nickelodeon production at the time. But, you know, they came up in the talk of children's movies and lower budget movies and stuff. For those of us who are not familiar, myself included, Leica uses 3D printers to create faces for their puppets, their stop-motion puppets, giving them thousands of facial expressions in a fraction of the time that it would normally take to create with hand-done clay.
Yeah, if you watch any of the special features, they have just trays of faces that get printed out.
So every frame is a different face?
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah, and they just pop it out of the puppet and put it right back on. So no molding, there's no inconsistency. It's they use 3D printers in a very revolutionary way.
Speaking of that revolutionary way, they print the top and bottom halves of the face separately, which gives them even more combination of facial expressions. So you could be changing just the top half, just the bottom half, both.
Yep.
Interesting stuff. Apart from that, they tend to stick to old school methods of stop motion, using CG for touch-ups and removing rigs and wires, which seems to be the new way of when people use CG. When people do actual stop motion, they just take it all out with.
Yeah, if somebody's flying through the air, they have to have him on a rig, but they just paint that rig green, take it out, chroma key it.
The guys who do Wallace and Gromit, what are those guys?
Aardman Animation.
Yeah, Aardman, they've gone the opposite way, where they're now using computers to make something that looks like stop motion, which I'm not mad at, but that's very interesting.
It is, and they even add like fingerprints on the fingers. So.
Yeah. Which is so weird.
They want to, using new technology to keep an old aesthetic, basically, without the time and the hassle of the old aesthetic.
Right.
So, I mean, clay's expensive. So,
is it?
And it's very dirty. Clay's not that expensive, but it's it's time consuming to do it that way. And yeah, if a light gets too hot or you knock something over, it's like that's literally days of work you fucked up.
Yeah.
So
speaking of hot topics, this film also features potentially the first openly gay character in a children's animated movie, as it is revealed that Casey Affleck's character, Mitch, is gay. This sparked some debate and controversy. We'll dive into that a little bit later, but
interesting to point out.
This isn't your just typical, animated fare. We're playing for keeps here.
Mm-hmm.
As of this recording, ParaNorman is not streaming anywhere, but it has been on Netflix in the past. It is available on DVD and Blu-ray, digitally from all retailers. Get your media where you get it. Also, I'm gonna call it Amazon right now. I rent and buy movies through Amazon, but they don't have any special features, like iTunes special featers. What the fuck, Amazon?
Get some spec feeds in there.
When you're making a digital store, it's like you have the discs, right? The disc has the movie, has the commentary tracks, has the languages, it has all this shit. I want that, but digitally. So don't say, oh, well, we didn't know that you want... You knew I wanted the special features, you fucking idiots.
Goddamn Amazon.
Bought Fast and the Furious there for nothing.
You wanted that Paul Walker tribute, didn't you?
Well, you get it at the end of the movie, but yes, I wanted it separately as well.
Yep.
So I want a gag reel. I want all the behind-the-scenes shit.
I want some music videos they used to do back in the day.
Also, Fast and Furious 7, completely absurd movie. Kev, have you heard of ParaNorman?
Yes, I brought this into our when we were discussing the Halloween, what movies we want to do. I put this one in there as a choice.
And ParaNorman is one of those movies that I am vaguely aware of. I'm aware of his existence. You say ParaNorman, I'm like, oh, it's a stop-motion animated movie, came out a couple years ago. It was one of those movies, though, that was not really on my radar in terms of interest, which after you wrote this introduction, but the modicum of research I've done, plus I follow this Tumblr blog that's like horror movies, and they had some gifs from ParaNorman. I'm like, wait a minute, why wasn't I all over this shit? This is exactly what I want.
I'm glad I can bring it to you.
So to answer that question succinctly, heard of it, didn't have an interest in it. Now going back and questioning myself, why didn't I? Same with Coraline. Coraline kind of has a horror vibe to it too, right?
A little bit.
And it's like, why wasn't I into that?
Yeah, I remember I wanted to see this in theaters, but just somehow never got around to it.
2012 was a pretty dark year for me too, though. By the way,
yeah,
financially didn't have any of those. What do you call that? Money.
Yeah. Those dollar bills, y'all, had to go to the bills, y'all.
Yes,
and not extraneous.
Yep. Get the money.
But yeah, I didn't see it in theaters, although I wanted to, and just never got around to it. And randomly, Netflix, it shows up in my Netflix queue as a disc. And I had it in the disc, and eventually it kind of finds its way to the top, and watched it, thoroughly enjoyed it. So, and ready to talk about it. I think it fits in with what we're going to do with this Halloween theme.
I might be better served getting the Netflix discs again, just for no other reason than this podcast.
You can. That's how I get a lot of movies on here, man. They don't got everything on streaming. They got a lot, but they don't have everything.
Yeah, it's not the streaming rights. I think that comes up a lot where people are like, why doesn't Netflix have everything? And it's like, it's not the same as a disc, because the way that copyright works, right? When you buy something, you're legally allowed to resell it or rent it, right? If you buy a car, that's now your car, and you can do whatever you want with it within the limits of public roads or whatever. You know? But if you want to rent it to someone, if you want to let someone borrow it, whatever. So it's like with discs, like Blockbusters and the Netflix, they make the deals with the studios, like we're going to buy them in bulk. There's no packaging. It just comes, big old spindle or whatever. But, if the studio didn't want to sell it to them that way, they could go buy it from like a wholesaler if they were so inclined. So that's why Netflix had so much stuff, right? They would get like the most obscure movie you've never even heard of because it doesn't even matter because you get the discs and then that's okay.
Yeah.
But with, licensing, it's like, you gotta go to someone, buy the rights, as a light update, you can't go before that date, there's different windows, et cetera, et cetera. So.
And streaming rights are still kind of the Wild West in this day. They haven't quite figured out the right model to do it yet.
Right.
I don't think.
Because the consumer wants everything, and at a certain point that makes sense, right? Because there's a propulsion of a window. You take a mainstream movie, like a movie that gets a big marketing campaign. Let's call it The Avengers. There's that initial push for the theatrical, right? The marketing for that. Then the theatrical comes out, it does that. Then you go into the premium space, your airplanes and your hotels and things. Then it's like premium video on demand. And this is all, that's, and someone pays a right for that, but this is all being promoted off the initial marketing, and then you get like the discs and the digital that comes out, and then it goes to premium cable and well, it's first premium rental and buying it, then you drop the rental, and then you go into premium cable, your HBOs and stuff, and then it comes out of that window, and then it can go into like the Netflix window or the premium VOD window, or not the premium VOD, I think it's SVOD, or subscription VOD, so SVOD, and then eventually television and free and shit like that. So, and any of those steps can be skipped if you have a smaller movie. Maybe you don't do HBO because HBO doesn't want it or whatever. But I think as a consumer, we just want like theatrical and then at home. And even like it doesn't make any sense, but I think most people want theatrical and home to be at the same time. So it's like if I feel like going out, I can go see it in the theater. If I don't, I can stay home and watch it. That doesn't really make any sense financially, but
I mean, they tried to do it, but then they charge like $40 to watch it at home. It's like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, off of like DirecTV or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was shocking that experiment didn't work.
Yeah.
So now that you're well versed in the process of streaming, how streaming rights are acquired.
So the next step is So we chose this film, Halloween Horror Month, because it's a kiddie horror movie, which is an area of horror films that is not really talked about a lot, but it's something that exists. It's definitely its own beast. Like Goosebumps coming up is gonna, or if depending on when you listen to this, maybe it's already come out. But Goosebumps coming up is a example of a kid horror movie. Monster Squad, which just came up on Netflix. That's a kid horror movie.
A classic kid horror movie.
I've never seen the Monster Squad.
I've never seen it either, but that is...
Did we just pick another movie for this podcast?
Oh, boy, we did.
So there's a number of horror-themed films out there that are appropriate for children and families. And, we believe in this podcast that they deserve as much of a nod as traditional horror movies. Not that there's that many of them to choose from, but, we're certainly not mad at that. Do you like kid-friendly horror?
I think
another example would be Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus is the quintessential, like a Disney type horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and what do you think they offer that the R-rated horror movies don't give?
I do like them because they have a little more fun with the genre. They don't feel so heavy, and you're not constantly just bombarded with trying to be scared. But I think they can explore the same themes in a really cool way. Like they can explore death. They can explore monsters and what does it mean to be a monster. And I think they can kind of take a whole different angle on it that horror movies and horror movie purists will not allow in like Friday the 13th or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I do enjoy watching horror movies that are marketed to kids because I think usually they're fairly well made.
Mm-hmm. I think that I like all or nothing. So I like either a kid's horror movie or like hard R. You know what I mean? I don't think I like anything in the middle. I think I'm cool with it being for kids. I'm cool with it being for adults. I don't really want like the middle road. You know what I mean? And I don't know if I like that about myself. Like I really don't like the Final Destination movies. I think that those are kind of like a cop out. I didn't watch Drag Me to Hell because it was PG-13. I was like, I don't want to watch a PG-13 horror movie. PG-13 horror movies don't have the strength of vision. It's like we either had an R1 that we pared down to PG-13 or we had a kids movie that we paired up to PG-13. And it never feels like, hey, we're going to make a PG-13 horror movie and this is what it is.
And like you say, they're trying to toe that line of like, we want it to be just scary enough that even an adult can be scared by it, but not so terrifying that a kid would be traumatized for the rest of their life.
And then it becomes a bunch of jump scares, which is fine. I don't hate jump scares, but I think the horror purist in all of us is like
anybody can do a jump scare.
I don't know if anyone can do it. All right, fair enough.
I did. See, I spooked you.
Yeah. I guess I think there's also a difference between a good jump scare and a bad jump scare, an earned jump scare and not. You know what I mean?
My jump scare being a bad jump scare.
Well, I don't want to judge.
Gotcha.
I don't want to put judgments on it. Do you think it's okay to show scary kids movies where kids are in peril?
I think it's essential almost to do that. I
agree with you, but go ahead.
Now, caveat, I'm not a parent, so maybe I don't know anything. But I feel kids, especially today, and I'm going to sound a little older, I think they're way too coddled, and I think they're protected even more than they were back in even my time in the 80s, you know?
Maybe.
Stay with me.
So I'm staying with you. I'm still with you.
I think there's this movement to really shelter them from a lot of stuff, and I think kids can handle more than we give them credit for. I think they can handle bigger concepts and even like the idea of death. I think the earlier you introduce that, ultimately the happier you become because you realize you will die someday. And while initially that's scary, you can parlay that into like, I need to make the most of my life, you know, because one day I'm not going to be here. So that they don't get complacent and they start thinking about it. And then realize like the people they know are going to die and your pet's going to die. And that's just a fact of life, is you have to deal with it, and life goes on no matter what happens.
Right, and also on a different level, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but it's on a different level. It's also like especially in a kids horror movie, it's like something is scary, and kids, you know, fear. I think fear is a thing that, you know, like of all the Batman villains, I think Scarecrow is the one that almost makes the most sense because it's like fear is something you live with all the time, right? Like someone cuts you off, like there's a fear. You know what I mean? Like. In a car, there's a fear there. So with kids, you know, there's a fear. It's like a rational fear. It's fear of monsters on the bed and whatever. And then in these kinds of movies, it shows you that like, hey, things are scary, but you can conquer them. You can, you know, you can beat it. You know what I mean? It's not
exactly.
You don't have to live in fear.
Yeah, you don't need to be the little cowering kid. It's like you can stand up to it and be strong,
right? And
you'll be a better person for
it. Which I think, you know, those kinds of movies sometimes, like, you know, specifically kids movies are corny to adults. Because the message is simple, but to a kid, that's like the first time anyone's ever shown you that. Like, people say it all the time, like, hey, don't be scared, there's nothing in your closet. But then it's like, what if there was? You see a kid where there is something in his closet, he survives it, she survives it, they survive it, and then, you know, you learn a lesson from that. You know what I mean? Going back to the parent comment that you made, I think it's very interesting. When I worked at the movie theater is when How to Train Your Dragon came out, the first one. And, you know, in the end, there's the Green Death, and it's chasing...
Yeah.
So this dude walks in, and in the beginning of the movie, it's him and his two sons. You know, they're like, one, you know, like 5 and 3. I don't know. You know, I'm bad with ages. Give them the 3D glasses. I'm working the 3D table. So then they go in the movie, and I'm sitting here doodling on my, notepad because I got nothing to do for the next hour and a half. So the climax of the movie where they're fighting the Green Death, the dad comes out, and, you know... I'm like, are you leaving, or are you just going to the bathroom or something? And he's like, oh, we're leaving. And I'm like, okay, can I have the glasses back? And he's like, yeah. He's like, and he looks at me, he's like, yeah, too scary for my kids. And the kids look kind of like, you know, a little shell-shocked. And I'm like, okay. And he kind of looks at me, and I kind of look at him, and then he just leaves. And I think he wanted me to, like, offer him a refund or something, and I'm like, there's no fucking way. You sat through that whole movie, you're not going to refund. But the real takeaway from that is, like, I know it's scary, and I know that your kids got scared, but, like, by taking them out of it, I don't think you're doing them any favors. And I also, and this is a real weird comment. I also think that people give their kids alternatively too much credit and not enough credit. Too much credit and not enough credit. So like, there's people I know who are parents who, like, you know, like their kid, when the new Superman movie came out, the guy's kid's like 3, and he takes his kid up to the poster, and he's like, "Who's that?" You know. I'll change his name to Michael. Michael, who's this? And the kid's like, I don't know. It's like, he's like, yeah, my kid doesn't recognize Superman. The Superman costume's not very good. It's like, also your kid's 3, homie, and you put him on the spot. Like, maybe your fucking 3-year-old is not, you know, adept at recognizing the fucking S. You know what I mean? Like,
and it's like
too much credit.
Yeah, the too much credit is they think everything they do is precious and special, and
also that they have a level of familiarity that an adult or a tween would have, a teenager would have. You know what I mean? Where it's like, your kid's 3, homie. It's a miracle that he can even, you know what I mean, that he can recognize Superman, much less have a conversation about it. You know what I mean? So it's like, so there's that. But at the same time...
And then giving them not enough credit, where it's when they do try to branch out a little bit and explore something, and you shut them from it or you take it away from it. So.
Another situation, I was at a friend's house. I have a kid. And the Secret of the Kells, we're going to put on Secret of the Kells for the kid. So I'm sitting on the couch, kid sitting next to me. Secret of the Kells starts up. It's like the eyes through the bushes. Kid starts freaking out immediately, right? Now, so they turn it off. Totally fine, right? Like, movie freaked the kid out. Kid's not old enough to watch the movie, right? The kid was like 3 at the time. Totally fine. But if you're like 7-year-olds watching How to Train Your Dragon and the scary scene is scary, it's like, just listen, homie, the scary scene's not gonna, the movie's almost over. You know that this will be over in like 5 minutes. Like, just let him watch the scene, and then in the end you get the fucking come down. So now he only has the fear, but he doesn't have the resolution. You know what I mean? I find that to be very annoying.
That's a movie where the kids conquer that fear. Because it's kids taking on this massive dragon that is very scary, but they beat it, Yeah. And it's like, and all you've done is instill the fear, and the way to get rid of fear is to run away. Or just, we can't do this. It's like, just show where they conquer it, It's like, what kind of precedent are you setting? So.
Yeah, and again, we're not parents, so this is being an armchair parent is real easy.
Our kids might be so fucked up it won't even be funny.
Oh no! Oh yeah.
My kids will watch, Clockwork Orange when they're 4. No, they won't.
What is that? I mean,
it's a little random. That's a little rough. But I'm not gonna shelter them. I'm not.
Before we move on, you're a monster.
Thank you.
So, are you familiar with the films of Laika?
I've really come to like them in recent years. I never saw Coraline when it came out. I didn't see ParaNorman. When I saw that Box Trolls trailer, I'm like, I'm first in line for the Box Trolls because that looks fantastic.
See, I had the opposite reaction to the Box Trolls. I was like, this is gross looking.
They're so cute, little Box Trolls. Anyway, that movie's fantastic. And I kind of discovered Coraline and ParaNorman to kind of get caught up, to be ready for the Box Trolls, be like getting the idea of their style. And I just really like they tell very different stories. It's not just the same old kids beats that Disney and Pixar set out that everybody kind of tries to copy. They really write really original stuff with really original characters and explore really different themes that you normally wouldn't explore in a kids movie. And like I said, the old school aesthetic, they use it in really cool ways. Just very unique vision, and it's a studio really run by a small creative group that's really doing something interesting. So I am a fan of Laika quite a bit.
Yeah, I have not watched any of their movies. I am aware of those movies, though, and I think, especially with Coraline and ParaNorman, there's no good reason why I haven't watched these movies, because these movies seem to be the kind of movies that I am interested in, being the more macabre subject matter, but not, and then if they're not, intrinsically, if they're not scary, it just seems fine, you know what I mean? So, I don't know why I haven't watched these movies, other than there's just a lot of movies in the world, and not all of them are.
Just haven't gotten on your radar yet.
Well, but the thing is that, like, knowing what they are, they should have started skating up higher. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to like watch Fast and the Furious 5, but it's like there's no way I'm gonna like that movie better than this movie, because this movie has zombies in it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I don't know. There's a real disconnect for me for like, why haven't I been more invested in this? But it is what it is.
Well, you're about to get it now.
So Laika makes stop motion movies. That's their bread and butter. Do you watch a lot of stop motion movies? And we'll start there.
I do. It's a style I just really like, and it's very. I like the handmade aesthetic. I like the way it looks in the camera. It feels like a whole different feel than just hand-drawn animation or CGI, or even just actors in front of a screen. It's a whole different aesthetic, and it has this. I think I really like the texture of like crunching my fingers like I'm grabbing something that you can't see. But it's the texture of these movies that I really enjoy. It started with Nightmare Before Christmas. I remember going to see that in the theater, and just always kind of exploring. And as someone who also tried to do it, I know you've done it for a movie, but I tried to do it back in my early filmmaking days. It is hard to do. Just make somebody to walk is hard. To do like, Oogie Boogie pulling levers and making his whole thing come to life and Jack jumping through it. It's like, that is so much work.
It is not only hard, it's also very tedious.
It's extremely tedious.
Which I think I deal with the tedious element of it better than the hard element of it, right? Like, figuring out, like when we were making Turbo Cop, figuring out how how do we animate his legs without it looking like he's leaning against the wall? Like, that's the hard part, right? And then we have to figure out, like, okay, so one guy has to hold him and the other guy has to do the legs. So it's like, then when your arms get tired, that's like the hard part. The tedious part of like doing the animation, I felt like that is just the execution. You know what I mean? I didn't mind that part. That part was actually kind of fun to me. It's the like figuring out like how are we gonna cheat this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And also, we when we shot Turbo, I should say this was a TurboCop episode, but like we didn't shoot it with a still camera. We shot it with a high 8 camera, so we just turn off on, off on, off on. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's not like we could just say, oh, we'll take this into Photoshop and edit it. It's like we don't really have the ability to edit frame by frame. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like video. So yeah, it was, it was what it was. But I do like stop motion movies. I like the Wallace and Gromit stuff, the Arden. I like. Nightmare was obviously good. Corpse Bride was alright. That was cool, but it wasn't great.
Wasn't great. The script was a little weak. Oddly, other stop motion ones I latched onto, the Tool video for Sober.
Yes, that is great.
That was on MTV 1993 on like constant loop.
And on 120 minutes.
Yep. And I think how old was I? 7 when that came out. That was a very kind of set a little stylistic tone. I'm like, oh, this doesn't have to be just like for kids. Like this could show a guy's face melting, and it can kind of feel like you're not supposed to watch it. You know. So I think it's always an aesthetic that has struck a chord with me.
Right. Yeah, I do love that stop motion aesthetic. I think it's its own unique thing. And I mean, there's not that many movies that come out animated wise. It's kind of the minority, right? It's like. Yep. You're most likely to get a 3D animated movie, then next is like the hand-drawn style, and then last it would be stop motion.
It just takes so much time and work. It takes years to make a stop motion.
Well, it takes years to make any animated movie.
It does, but stop motion
is so
very labor intensive.
But I love it, man. I think it's cool.
So those Tool stop motion ones? You know who does the stop motion for those?
Who?
Their guitar player.
Oh, really?
Yep. He is a special effects artist.
Really?
He worked on Jurassic Park.
Oh, really?
Yep. You can see him in the if you watch the Jurassic Park special features, he's carving a dinosaur in one of those shots.
And he plays in Tool.
And he's the guitar player for Tool. Adam Jones is his name.
Weird.
So, yeah, multi-talented dude.
Apparently.
He does all their poster artwork as well. Along with they have an artist they work with, I forget his name. So, but yeah, he does a lot of their stylistic stuff, and does the animation, or at least directs the animation for the stop motion in their music videos. So there you go. Talking Tool time.
Yeah, Tool time.
When's that new album coming out, Tool?
Yeah, what's up with that? What's up with Tool?
We're 9 years removed from their last album. Let's get it going.
So somehow, some way, so far, this is the only movie in our Halloween series dealing with zombies. Zombies, all the rage right now. You got The Walking Dead. You got Z Nation, iZombie, Fear the Walking Dead. Lots of zombie stuff coming out. Oh, Scouts vs. Zombies, new trailer for a zombie movie coming out this Halloween. You got a lot of... Zombievers, which I both love and hate.
I haven't watched it yet.
It's worth watching.
All right.
If you go in with an open heart and perhaps an open beer, you'd be okay. I had the open heart part.
I'll heed your advice.
Yeah. What do you make of zombie movies and stories? Do you think the genre is peaking? Do you think it's regressing? To me, it seems it's kind of like a superhero thing where we had, in the early 2000s, we had like the Dawn of the Dead remake and some other shit. What was that one? We had World War Z is, I think, back on the upswing. We had Zombieland, you know what I mean? So it's like there's been a lot of different zombie things. It kind of went down a little bit, and then it seems like The Walking Dead is the Iron Man of zombie things, where it's kind of shot it back up.
Right back up there. So, I think yes and no. I like zombie stuff. I think it can... If you're trying to consciously avoid the cliches, then you don't really make a zombie movie. I think you
What's a zombie movie to you? What do you need?
You gotta have that shuffling horde, and it's gotta be like the downfall of civilization, basically, in my opinion.
I think part of the tropes of the genre is also it being really gory.
Yeah, it's gotta be violently gory, I think. Because that's half of the enjoyment out of it is just seeing all the ways you can kill somebody and spray blood.
I mean, that's true. It's a kind of a gore.
In a way, nothing to defend.
It's the traditional gorehounds view of zombies, which is the Fulci's movies, like all of these movies.
Peter Jackson's Dead Alive.
Right. These are all in that vein.
A gorehound's wet dream. that lawnmower. Wow.
So I am all for that too, but I'm also into the non-traditional zombie stuff. iZombie on the CW network is like a mystery zombie show where she's a zombie, but it's kind of like if you eat brains, your body stays basically human, but then if you don't eat brains, then you become more of a feral creature, which I think is an interesting take on the zombie lore. I did like World War Z. I thought that was an interesting take on the zombie horde, where it's like it's more of a disaster movie and an action movie than a horror movie, which I appreciated that too. So I like Zombieland is kind of like it's kind of like a mix between like the gorehound version, toned down to a palpable taste level mixed with comedy.
Yeah,
I think
that movie's a very light R rating.
Yeah.
Even though it's rated R, it's like the gore is it's not going to traumatize.
Right. And Nick, my girlfriend, who is not a horror person at all, I showed her that movie. You know what I mean? And it was like, in the first scene, she was like, "What the fuck is this?" And I'm like, "Hold your horses." And then by the time it gets going, it's like, okay, this movie has a lot of heart. You know what I mean? So I think I'm all for zombie everything. I don't think the genre has peaked. I think it's right now in a holding pattern where it's just a relevant thing in pop culture. And I think that, like, you don't want it to get stale because you have to listen to the rules. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want you want there to be like, well, it has to be this and then this and you do this and you do this and then we're out. You know what I mean? It's like, zombie movies really have zombie movies come from a place like in the 70s, there's like a lot of nihilism, a lot of the government is corrupt, no one can help you if something goes wrong, and it's like, I don't know if I want to. That story's been told. It doesn't always need to be told over and over and over again. You know,
it's like the Spider-Man origin story.
Exactly.
Like, we know it. We get it.
Right.
We got you.
What's Miles Morales' take on this? You know what I mean? Like, that's my whole thing. Is that why do we need? We don't need to tell a story in a particular way. You know what I mean? What if we did a zombie apocalypse where it's like AIDS, where it's like, it's an epidemic we can live with. You know what I mean? Like, it's just people have to be smart. You know what I mean? And culture changes.
That'd be cool. I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea.
Thank you.
That's real cool.
So there's things like that. You know what I mean? Why not use a sci-fi movie with zombies in it? Why not, can we do a zombie movie where it's like magic zombies, where it's like a necromancer raises them from the dead? So he just goes in the cemetery and pulls up a bunch of skeletons and corpses and shit?
Could be cool.
You know what I mean? Like right now,
that medieval zombie movie.
Right, totally. Because right now we have this like kind of like a disease virus zombie culture going on, which is fine, but there's room for everything. And I think it's to make a car analogy or motorcycle analogy. It's like every motorcycle company has gone out of business. Normally, it's because they stopped innovating. Indian, you know what I mean? Yep. Like they're just like, we're just doing it this way, and it's like, yeah, but you gotta embrace modern things. And when your core fan base is not very thoughtful, it just makes you dumber.
Like zombies.
Yeah, like zombies. So what about you, Kev? You think that it's gonna come up or come down or come around?
Yeah, I think we're looking for the next great zombie idea, the next great innovation. It's definitely a genre that lends itself to, you can try a lot of different things with it. I think we're getting a little complacent though, where it's a drama and zombies show up sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like we gotta come up with the next good zombie idea.
Right.
That's a movie. Because The Last of Us had a great zombie idea.
See, right there. Right there. That's a new take on it. They're like plant zombies, right?
Yeah, it's a fungus. Mm-hmm. But it explores the idea of the humans being a lot scarier in that situation than the zombies.
Right.
So, but again, that's a video game, so you're alienating a certain part of people that might be interested in that simply because they don't have a $400 video game machine or they don't play video games.
Right.
So let's get that movie for them. I mean, they're trying to make a Last of Us movie. I don't think they need to, but let's get an idea that's up there with that.
And I also resent the idea of like, no, this genre is no longer in fashion, because every genre is not in fashion until it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know.
You should be able to make it any time.
Well, you're right, but I'm saying like right now we're in a kind of like supernatural horror movie thing. But a couple of years ago we weren't making supernatural horror movies, so someone has to do it first, and then you get all of the people who are like, well, I got a story to tell in that, guys, and now that the door's open, I can come through it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like vampires are very popular, you know, the whole Twilight thing, and now vampires. They're not out, but it's just we're not interested as much as we were. But someone can make an awesome vampire movie, and then we're right back into it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So nothing is ever over, and like, hasn't pop culture taught us that? It's like your shitty '90s clothes were cool in the '90s, lame in the 2000s, lame in the early 2010s, but are cool now again. You know what I mean? Everything cycles.
Mm-hmm. You know, they talk about all these people dressed like hipsters who are so cool. They're going to look like the dudes with the perm mullets in the 80s in like 20 years. It's like, you're going to look stupid.
And then in 20 more years, they'll look cool again because that'll come back.
You should be able to do anything at any time,
right?
I think, in that libertarian view.
Rapid fire? Are we ready for rapid fire? Or is there anything else you want to say about zombies?
No, I got my zombies out.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Addams Family or the Munsters?
I always like the Addams Family. Way more stylish.
I think the Munsters is a better idea, so I'm going to go with the Munsters.
All right. Also, that Munsters theme song, fantastic.
Mm-hmm. But that Dragula car, also
so
fantastic.
Cool.
Best place to be stranded during a zombie apocalypse? Mall, island, farmhouse, hardware store.
I'm going hardware store. Everything that can kill a zombie is at Home Depot.
I'm going to say...
Or a Cabela's, or a Bass Pro Shop.
Oh, Bass Pro. Well, I'd rather be at a Home Depot than a Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah.
Let's just put that out on Front Street right now. I want to say mall, but malls are all clothing stores now. There's not like everything at the mall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess you got a Sears. I'm going to say hardware store too. I want a Home Depot.
Get that weed whacker right to a zombie's
Well,
face.
it also like it's quick dry cement. You can make some cement barriers.
Yep.
A lot of things you can do.
Plants to grow. You can eat it.
Yeah.
Yep.
You grow your vegetables, grow them on the roof. Totally.
It's the best place.
Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Living Dead, or Day of the Living Dead? Night, dawn, or day?
I'm going dawn.
Dawn?
Dawn's where it's at.
I always went with night. I think night's my favorite. I feel like that one is just my favorite.
I mean, yeah, that one set the tone for every zombie movie. There's no question. But I like Dawn's commentary.
Is Dawn is a little bit cartoonish for me?
A little bit.
There's like a Gallo influence where it's like
the blood is like orange.
The blood is orange. The zombies are blue.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And the tone's a little bit goofy.
Yep.
But it's a good movie. I never liked Day. I didn't like the music in Day.
Nah. But Day is way too 80s.
Yeah, way too 80s.
And come on, a zombie with a gun, give me a break. Give me a break. They're mindless. They shuffle.
Weeks or days? And we're talking about how many later?
Days, definitely. 28 Weeks was too nihilistic. That movie was too hard to watch.
You know, I never saw 28 Weeks Later.
It's a rough watch. It's very like everybody dies and that's it.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Sorry, everybody. Actually, that movie ends that everybody dies and then the zombies go down the English Channel and they go to France and they're gonna fuck over France.
Well, that's what you get for being next to England.
Yep.
Silent Hill or Resident Evil?
I'm going Resident Evil. I tend to gravitate to those more.
I think I'm gonna go with Silent Hill. Listen, there's a lot of shitty games in both these franchises.
Yeah, we're not denying that.
Yeah, and the best of the best. I mean, you know, it's like if you take the best Resident Evil game versus the best Silent Hill game, I mean, you're just winning either way. I'm gonna say Silent Hill and R.I.P. the Kojima and Guillermo del Toro version that was gonna be made, because I feel like that game was gonna be bonkers great.
Gonna be cool, and
fucked it up.
God damn it, Konami, you're all over the place.
You guys suck. Fast or slow zombies?
I kind of like the fast zombies, personally.
No, when I was a kid...
They're terrifying. They're so fast.
I agree with you. When I was a kid, I was very against fast zombies. But, you know, again, everything has to change. And sometimes, you know, slow zombies are good and sometimes fast zombies are good. You know what I mean? Like...
Slow zombies are good in hordes because it's hard to get away from a horde. Mm-hmm. But a fast zombie, it's like one of them is terrifying. Right. It can catch up to you.
And things change and evolve. You know what I mean? It's not a big deal either way. Scariest stop-motion animated villain, Oogie Boogie or Feathers McGraw?
Feathers McGraw. That dude is terrifying.
Okay, first question. Who's Feathers McGraw?
the penguin in Wallace and Gromit with the rubber glove on his head.
Oh yeah, that guy's a motherfucker.
Yeah, right. He's
but
a scary dude.
I'm gonna say Oogie Boogie because he's full of bugs, and bugs are gross.
I mean, Oogie Boogie.
Bugs are gross.
It's terrifying, but Feathers McGraw is a cold-blooded piece of shit. Also, I saw the when the Tim Burton exhibit came to LACMA, had the Oogie Boogie puppet. That thing is pretty big, actually.
Yeah, the thing with stop motion is I think like we all think of them like Barbie size, like 12 inches, but they're not. They're like 2 or 3 feet.
Sizable,
yeah, they can be big.
Yeah, really, and just gives them that more detail that they can put into it. So.
Best stop motion dog: Gromit, Zero, Frankenweenie.
Gromit is such a loyal, smart companion. Go with Gromit.
I think there is no argument here. It has to be Gromit.
Yep,
has to be.
Gromit's just on point.
Eating toast, being smarter than everyone else in the room, driving is awesome. A motorcycle with a sidecar. Yep. You know, he's a dog, but no one seems to realize it.
Yeah, they kind of just
like they know he's a dog, but they're like, but he's smart like people. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's just a thing in that world. He's not an anomaly.
Sean's cricket bat or Ash's boomstick?
That cricket bat's a pretty solid weapon. That takes some motherfuckers down in Shaun of the Dead.
I'm gonna say this is my boomstick.
Smart. You got that.
Boom. Worst way to get killed by a zombie?
I think getting your guts eaten out because you can see it happening. That would be terrifying.
That's pretty bad. But I'm gonna say the worst part is getting scratched, and by scratch I mean fingernail scratch, and that turning you into a zombie.
Yeah, just like the littlest thing.
Right.
Like, God, I'm fucked because of a scratch.
Yeah. But the guts one isn't, I mean, they're not...
It's just seeing your body being eviscerated by a mindless horror that does not care.
Yeah. That's
terrifying.
George Romero or Danny Boyle?
Overall, I would say Danny Boyle.
I think so, too, because I love George Romero, and, in some ways he's like a hero because he's a guy who did it on his own. But there's a lot of Bobo shit that he's put out, and it's just kind of... In some ways, it soured my opinion of him, but in other ways, it doesn't matter because we're gonna forget about those movies. Diary of the Dead, no one's gonna give a shit.
Nobody cares.
Yeah,
I mean, Danny Boyle, he's not flawless either. He's had a couple stinkers out there.
Like what?
Trance did nothing for me.
Interesting.
That movie was just odd, and The Beach is always kind of
a low dip.
His big budget mishap. And A Life Less Ordinary has cool moments, but isn't overall good. But he has a lot of really great stuff, too. So, Danny Boyle, very kinetic filmmaker.
Magic or virus?
Virus. Prefer that.
Gonna have to go with magic.
All right.
Gonna have to go with magic. And then we're gonna play Rapid Fire Future Edition. If the zombie genre was taken and paired with another genre, what genre would it be?
That's a good one.
So right now it's horror. So what do you want? Horror /
horror romance.
Well, so like what was that movie called? Warm Bodies was like that.
Yeah. Kind of.
That was a great movie, by the way.
I never saw it.
Oh,
so
great.
I'll check it out. But yeah, I think that's something that's not really getting explored. Maybe a little bit. There's Life After Beth came out, and that's kind of a horror romance.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a genre that maybe hasn't had its defining moment yet.
But two good entries, Life After Beth and... Well, Life After Beth is more like an anti-romance movie.
All right.
But, have you seen it?
No, I've not seen it.
It's more like an anti-romance movie. I'm going to say fantasy would be tight.
Zombie fantasy, huh?
Yeah.
You want in, like, medieval realm or...
Like in a magical medieval realm, and then, the evil bad guy has zombies.
All right.
It's like a Conan movie.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like, we're living like... in our fjords or whatever, and then, a guy with a big... So basically, I want the Magnificent Seven, but with zombies in Fantasyland.
That could be cool.
Also,
I'd go see that. That's a good pitch.
Every movie I've pitched on this podcast is a fucking $100 million Academy Award-winning movie. Goddamn you. So we're going to move on to what this movie, kid horror, stop motion, zombie edition. We know all the rules, but just in case you don't, you say... I'm going to say a movie. We're going to say yes if we've seen it, if we like it. No if we've seen it and don't like it, or haven't seen it. And then we don't really... It's not really that strict. Play along at home if you want. Here we go. Hocus Pocus.
Yes.
I'm going to say soft yes.
I saw it in theaters. I remember the theater I saw it in.
Critters. Is Critters a kid movie?
It's kind of in the Gremlins vein.
Okay, I'm gonna say no.
And yeah, no, it's not very good.
Speaking of Gremlins.
Yes.
Yes. Also, as a kid, that was like the sleepover movie du jour.
Oh yeah. Somebody knew somebody who had Gremlins on VHS.
And you better bring that copy over. And don't let your brother take it.
And on Game Boy.
Yeah. Wallace and Gromit, Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
Fantastic film.
Such a hard yes. Great. Ghostbusters.
Yes. I mean, come on.
Yes, indeed. Ghostbusters 2.
Yes.
I'm gonna say no.
I like Ghostbusters too.
Like Ghostbusters 2 is where they kind of lose the game a little bit.
Yeah, I dug Vigo.
Fair enough. Monster House.
I never saw it, but was interested in it.
I did see it in the theater. Fun little movie. It's good.
That was also the guy that did this the Poltergeist remake.
Oh, really?
Yep, Gil Keenan.
Sadly. Nightmare Before Christmas.
Hard yes. I mean, it's a great film.
Yeah, it's really great. Also, motherfucking Tim Burton did not direct that movie. People don't know that.
Henry Selick directed it. The director of Coraline.
James and the Giant Peach.
That's a good film, yes. Also Henry Selick directed that, too.
I didn't really like it.
What?
Okay. Beetlejuice.
Oh, it's great. Come on. Beetlejuice.
It is great. I prefer the cartoon over the...
That was a good cartoon from back in the day.
Babe! So good. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Those movies are so bobo. If you go back and watch them.
So bobo. All of the holiday stop-motion Christmas ones...
All those Rankin and Bass.
I hate them. I hate them. They're sad. It's like, this is supposed to be the most fantastic time of the year. Why are all Christmas movies sad? It's fucking... It makes no sense.
Yep.
Christmas,
be happy.
Christmas is the worst.
Also, that abominable snowman, he scared me when I was a kid. But my parents made me watch it and made me not be scared, and I turned out okay.
All right. Monster Squad.
I never saw it.
Can we just do that for the podcast? I'm gonna write this down right here.
Writing down Monster Squad.
It's a movie that is like isn't always on the periphery of like my social circle. Frighteners.
That's a good film. I think it's a little goofy, but I like it.
I saw it in 8th grade on a VHS at my grandparents' house. I was very disappointed at the time. Probably didn't understand it. Michael J. Fox is great. Corpse Bride.
Like we said earlier, good, but not great.
Yeah, I'd say not great. Just not great.
Yep.
Casper.
That movie's pretty bunk. I remember liking it as a kid, and then I saw it recently a few years ago, and I was like, this is not good.
Same. Also, I was in the movie theater and watching it with my mom, and some little girl sitting in front of us turns to her mom and says, "This is the scariest movie I've ever seen. Isn't it your scariest movie, Mom?" And the mom's like,
Not sure whether to agree with the kid or just...
Yeah. Like, do I drop this or... Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
It's a fun little movie from what I remember.
I don't think I ever saw that.
I know we definitely watched it around Halloween in like school, you know.
Addams Family.
You know, Raul Julia is good, but those movies overall are not that good.
Do what they want to do. Say what they want to say. No. Addams Family Values.
About the same as the first one. Not terrible, but just not quite up to its potential.
I feel like,
for as good as a cast as it had.
I'm gonna take a hard stance here and say no. They're kids movies. They're not family movies, and they are bad for it.
I agree. But yeah, you got Raul Julia, Angelica Houston, Christina Ricci. Like, that's a good cast, and they kind of fucked it up.
Edward Scissorhands.
It's a classic, yes.
I don't think I've ever seen it all the way through, and I don't really have any implication to do so.
It's good.
Arachnophobia.
I'm gonna give that a soft yes.
I'm gonna say it is NA because I will not watch movies filled with bugs.
Really? Yeah. It's you're not buggy. My brother didn't like spiders, so I think I watched that just to piss my brother off.
Fair enough. Hotel Transylvania.
I never saw it.
Never saw it either, but I feel like it'd be right up our alley.
It sounds like it could win,
Listen,
but that Sandler attachment makes me worried.
Yeah, but he's just doing a voice. He's not really in charge of it.
Still, you never know.
Well,
His stink permeates a lot of things.
Let's get through ParaNorman, and then we'll worry about this later. Mary and Max.
That's a good stop-motion film. Very dramatic and very much for adults.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
It's a drama.
Interesting.
Philip Seymour Hoffman doing the voice in that one.
Little Monsters.
Never saw it.
I don't even know what that is.
That's it's like a weird Howie Mandel.
Nope,
movie.
out. I'm out.
It's very strange.
I'm out. That's it. Dawn of the Dead 2004 remake.
Better than I thought it was going to be. So I'll give it a yes.
I wanted it to be lame because I at the time I hated the idea of a remake, but it's a competently made movie with maybe a little bit of a third act problem, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's good for what it is.
Day of the Dead.
No.
Nah, 290s.
Nah.
290s. Diary of the Dead.
No.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Shaun of the Dead.
Perfect in every way.
Yeah, really enjoyable. A unique entry into a genre where if you are obsessed with the genre and love everything about it, you'll love this movie. And if you hate the genre and don't like it at all, it's also for you too.
Yep. And just an impeccably written script. When you really sit down and look at it, the way they reference almost everything that was said before, this is brilliant.
Dracula, dead and loving it.
Terrible.
Never saw it.
It's Mel Brooks at his absolute worst.
No.
Mel Brooks and Leslie Nielsen at their worst.
Zombieland.
I'm gonna go no on Zombieland.
What?
I wasn't a big fan.
I'm gonna say AAA plus good.
Bill Murray was the best part.
Listen, there's no denying that Bill Murray was the best part of that movie. That's not in debate here. That's true. But I think that I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Dead Snow. Never saw it.
I watched it and didn't think much of it, so no.
World War Z.
No.
I liked it.
Didn't like it.
Reanimator.
Great.
Yeah, it's total classic.
The movie's great.
The movie's great. Stage play's great.
Find that musical. I think it's in Las Vegas right now, but if it comes back to LA or an area near you, watch that Reanimator musical.
Me and you saw it in LA, and it was just a roaring good time.
Fantastic.
Sit in the splash zone.
Yep.
Also, be careful. They put a little soap in the blood so it washes out of your clothes. So your clothes are going to be fine. Don't worry about your clothes. But,
don't drink it.
Don't drink it because it tastes like soap.
Yep. But yeah, that is an absolutely hilarious musical. And the movie itself is great as well. Great practical effects, great gore, great horror story.
Resident Evil film series.
Oh boy, no.
I'm going to say, to me, it's like the Fast and the Furious movies where it's so in its own little world and so bobo for bonkers that I almost have respect for it. You know what I mean?
It's also amazing how long it's lasted.
Right. The thing is that...
and not really even being that popular. Right. I don't know anybody who likes those
movies. They do good.
They do.
And it's one of those things...
Somebody's going to see
it. PG-13 horror movies, and they ramp it back to not offend. And it's just something you can watch while working out of the gym. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't love it and I don't defend it, but I am interested in it in a certain way. And I don't see him in the theater or anything. You know what I mean? Yep. Plan 9 from Outer Space.
A camp classic.
I've never seen that movie.
You should check it out. It's about as bad as you've heard.
Ernest Scared Stupid.
It's such a weird character, Ernest.
It is, and I don't like Ernest.
Yeah, he was like a pitchman for commercials, and they're like, let's give this guy a bunch of wacky movies.
And it's this is the movie that, when someone's mom or dad complained about Gremlins, this is what you had to watch at, a sleepover at the karate studio that you went to, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And this is ugh!
Also, I know I've seen Ernest Scared Stupid. I remembered nothing about it. So there you go.
Any last minute quotes or things?
I think we're ready for some ParaNorman here.
Yeah, I don't got anything else to go, so nothing else to say, so here we go.
Here we go.
Get that lunch. And we're back.
We're back.
ParaNorman, just watched it here. Recorded the first half. Took a little break. Got a sandwich. Watched it on my couch, Blu-ray, your copy, 3-pack.
Yeah, it's the Leica 3-pack. It has Coraline, ParaNorman, and the Box Trolls.
Do they promote these Leica's stuff? This Universal?
I mean, I found it just looking on Amazon when I was looking for the Box Trolls.
Because it's a nice box set, but the cover art doesn't scream to me. We tried really hard.
Yeah, it's kind of sort of a little slapdash.
Yeah.
I won't say that much, but it is a good deal. It was only $30.
You want to summarize this movie?
Yeah. ParaNorman takes place in the town of Blythe Hollow. We follow Norman, who's a little kid who can talk to ghosts. He is a bit of an outcast. People think he's kind of a freak. He gets bullied at school because he kind of looks like he's talking to himself all the time. his uncle is this crazy old guy played by John Goodman, who believes that there is a curse of a witch that is going to happen because a witch was killed or hung in Blythe Hollow many, many years ago. Norman learns about this curse and tries to solve the mystery while the town starts getting destroyed by the witch when she arises from, or zombies when they arise from the dead. So yeah, it's Norman trying to go on a mission to solve the curse of the witch in Blythe Hollow.
In Blythe Hollow, a great place to hang.
A great place to hang. Morbid.
So we'll get into that in a second. Kev, what did you think about this movie?
I really enjoy it. It's a fun story. It's explores some really interesting themes about death and being an outcast.
Justice.
It takes place in a really interesting universe where apparently no straight lines exist.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very really cool aesthetic that Leica did where there's no 90-degree angles in this world. Everything is just very crooked and out of proportion, and it's all, from the people to the cars to the fences to windows, everything is just, it gives it this whole other worldly look, but it looks cohesive. It doesn't look slapdash, unlike that box art cover on the Universal DVD.
Yeah, well, we gotta move past this DVD. We gotta move past it.
But yeah, no, I really, really enjoy this film. I think it's a very unique kids film. If I was a kid, I would have eaten this up back in the day. But yeah, I still like it even as an adult. So yeah.
I will say I also like it. I thought he was gonna fight more zombies, but the 7 that they had was fine. That's a very minor.
It's not really about fighting zombies.
It's not. Well, the way the plot synopsis makes it seem like it is.
Yeah.
Like he's fighting ghosts and zombies. But that doesn't. It's fine. That's not even a nitpick. You know what I mean? That's just like I thought from this description it'd be a little bit different of a movie. Mm-hmm. I think going back to the movie that they did make, I think that this is a really great execution. I think the movie's great. It's its own beast. It's completely unique. It's morbid and sexual in a way that is not overly morbid, or overly sexual. It seems to represent a reality that people live in, right? Where it's like...
Expand.
If you have a kid who's like a tween, right? The kid's gonna be watching workout videos, and you know why.
Yeah.
So that's a great joke in this movie, where the kid's watching his mom's workout videos, and his brother's like, "What are you doing?" Get to that direct quote later when I get to awesome things, but it seems to be more rooted in reality. Ironically, a movie about a kid who can see the ghosts and communicate with zombies seems to be rooted more in a real reality than most kids' movies in terms of the world they live in. Like the brother, we're gonna get this later, but the brother's gay and no one talks about it because in life, that wouldn't always be brought up, right? Especially if you live in a place that was tolerant of that, So it's like, that's cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's it doesn't show everybody as like being wholesome or that everybody's completely straight laced. Like in a Pixar movie where the parents are usually very supportive. There's no kind of like dark weird shit going on, and this movie kind of explores right. The fat redhead kid is trying to get a chub on watching aerobic videos.
Well, I'm glad. In a sense, you take Up, and I think this is not a dig on Pixar. It's just two different worldviews, right?
Yeah.
But in Pixar, the world is okay. It's just the world will knock you down and whatever, but ultimately the world's okay. This comes up in Up. Right, where he loses his wife and he loses faith in the world. But when you see the way people are treating him, they're not treating him badly. You know what I mean? Like the construction workers.
Yeah, he's just grumpy.
He's just grumpy because he's in pain, right? And same thing with Inside Out, right? It's like the world. There's sad things happen in the world and bad things happen in the world, but the world ultimately is a good place, and you're it's okay. It's okay to be sad and whatever, right? In this, it's like the world's kind of shitty, and we need to work to make it better, right? It's just a different viewpoint. You know what I mean? This is a little bit more of an artsy company, it seems, in Pixar, which is rare to say because Pixar is quite the artsy company. But it seems like they're giving them more for their money, where they're not afraid to be like, yeah, the world can be bullying. Like the kids, like you get bullied. If someone's bigger and dumber than you, they're gonna bully you. If you were bigger and dumber than me, you'd bully me. It's just the way the world is, and they never really come back to that.
Yeah, it's accepted in
right,
the world,
right.
So it's very.
Like, if that line came up in a Pixar movie, that would be the whole movie, right? It would be about exploring that.
That'd idea. Be the penultimate line would be that line, and that's what the whole movie would be about. And yeah, it explores like, some people are treated like freaks in this movie. I mean,
right.
They literally write freak on
Norman's
locker,
and Fatty
on what's the kid's name?
The fat kid's name.
Neil.
Neil.
Neil's a fat ginger kid who befriends Norman. And, the story revolves around a witch who was killed because she was different by these Puritans. Like, the Puritan zombies are horrified by the world because there's gambling and smoking and
boobs
and TV and...
Well, that's another thing, right?
Hamburgers.
Right, like when you're a kid, like you see the same posters that adults see, right? Like if you live in LA and you're driving on Sunset, there's a company called 138 Water, which is basically just girls in lingerie and or skimpy bikinis and then a bottle of water.
Yep.
And it's like, children are in this neighborhood. You know what I mean? They're seeing basically, there's one right above Meltdown.
That's on the way to the zoo.
There's one on the way to Meltdown Comics, right above Meltdown Comics, which is like literally like a taint shot. You know what I mean? And it's just like, whoa.
Yeah, it's that's just out there for the whole world to see.
Right. So like the fact that like in a kids movie they're showing like they're like the witch casino, like there's magic in these cards, and there's an Elvira style woman with like with money in her cleavage. It's like, but that's real though. Like that is the world that exists for children, right? Like, I think kids might notice that because other movies don't do it, but that is reality. You know what I mean? Like, when you're growing up as a kid, you do see, growing up in the Bay Area, there was an adult bookshop that we'd always pass on the way to school. And it's like...
On the way to school. I love it.
On the way to school. So you saw it every day to and from, and it's like, oh, that's an adult bookshop. Like, and then, pretty quick you learn what that means, and it's like, oh.
Yep.
And there was also a place right next door to it called the Hip Hugger, which was a go-go bar.
Oh. Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I guess it's like you can't have full nudity. You can't have nudity if you have booze.
Yeah, if you're serving hard alcohol, you can't have full nudity.
So if you're serving beer, you can have full nudity?
I think you can go topless, not bottomless.
If
you be fully nude, you serve Diet Coke. So.
I'm not going to say that those are bad rules, because I'm sure those rules come from very... not specific, but from a lot of examples of this is why it should be.
Yeah.
But as someone who A, doesn't drink and B, doesn't go to strip clubs, it just seems very bizarre.
It's you gotta pick and choose. You gotta figure out what kind of night you're gonna have.
So then, is there a place in this world that's like shaped like an E, where and it's three separate businesses? One is full alcohol bikini bar. The other one is a beer and topless. The other one's full nude, whatever. And it's just three different businesses, but they're all in the same building, and it's like served by the same ladies.
It's probably in Idaho somewhere.
Yeah.
Northern Idaho.
Well, in other states though, it's not like that, right? You can just do whatever you want.
Yeah, my strip club law is a little shady. So
yeah, we're not
a little shaky.
We need a strip club lawyer.
I'm a maritime law guy. And this is the world that ParaNorman exists in.
It does.
It exists in a real world.
Right.
A much more real aesthetic, even though there's, ghosts and curses.
And no straight lines, and the world turns to ashes. And what do you think about how morbid it is?
I think it's not overly morbid. It doesn't try to rub it in your face.
Right. I think we only call it morbid because it's talking about these things.
It's morbid for a kids movie.
Right. Because other kids movies don't talk about these things unless it's like Bambi's mother dying, Yeah.
Or, the beginning.
That fucking hunter, why?
Or the beginning of Up, where it's like, she dies.
Right.
Spoiler alert for the first 5 minutes of Up.
Listen, if you haven't seen Up, you deserve that spoiler alert.
Jesus God.
Because when you don't see that coming, it is devastating.
It hits you like a ton of bricks. So, but yeah, I don't think it's trying to be overly morbid. Like, it's not waving its freak flag, being like, we're so different and we're going to be so scary. It's just morbid in a very grounded, real way, where it's like, people die. And sometimes people die with unresolved issues. You know, and there's kind of weirder people who are kind of scary, which is his uncle, you know.
And there's weirder people who are just being bullied on.
Yep. And there's, you know, bullies, there's goofy girls, there's rednecks, there's intolerant people, there's all kinds of people floating around this world. But again, it's morbid in a very grounded way, not just this overly stylistic way.
I just want to bring up really quick, because you brought up the bully thing. Alvin as a character makes no sense to me.
How so?
In my life, in my experience, the kid who's like, it's weird because he showed him breakdancing later, but then the way he looked is like stereotypical of like a rock aesthetic, where he has big plugs and he's kind of like dirty and stuff. I feel like they don't know culturally, they don't know who he is, and then also like, is that kid the bully in the school? I feel like that kid's the kid who gets bullied in the school, right? The weirder you are, if you're weird, you're not the bully. If you're weird, you're getting bullied. You know what I mean?
He doesn't seem that weird to me though, in terms of his style.
You don't think like you don't think the smelly kid with big plugs and
I see plugs all the time on people these days.
No,
they're
not
everywhere.
Anymore.
I do.
Not anymore.
I do.
All right.
See them all the time.
And maybe that's a Culver City thing.
Yeah, you Hollywood people.
I'm just saying. It's hard for me to believe that that's the bully. Just like in Toy Story, Sid. It's like he has a skateboard and a skull on his shirt, so he's obviously the bad kid. And just like, that is so cheap to the point of laziness. So I just don't get. And again, this kid's breakdancing, but he has like the studded belt. What do you call that? Wristbands. I just don't know who this kid is. I feel like he's like six people's version of what a bully is, and like I think those people.
But he's also kind of a wuss too.
Right. So I think those people are bullies, and they're like, no. The kid I bullied was the bully.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So you think Leica's just a bunch of like Nelson,
a bunch of fucking bullies,
bunch of Nelson Muntzes making stop motion movies?
Yeah, I think so. But unless you got something to say about that, we can move away from that.
No, it's I didn't notice that as much, but yeah, I agree that Alvin. He doesn't seem super threatening, other than that he just kind of has chosen Norman to pick on, basically. And he's clearly older than Norman by at least a couple years.
Right.
So I think he just bullies him because he has nothing better to do.
Is Norman in high school or in middle school?
I think he's a freshman in high school. Okay. That looks like a high school to me. So
the movie's very funny. There's lots of funny moments in this movie. It's
one that just came to my mind is his uncle's hiding behind a statue. And Norman and Neil are walking, and he goes, psst. And Neil goes, that statue just pissed at us.
Yeah. There's lots of like, Neil comes through in this movie. There's a whole sequence where Neil shows up at his house in a hockey mask, and he's like, hey, you want to go play hockey? And it's totally like a Jason reference. And then he's just like, go home, Neil, just go home. And then the next shot is Neil crawling over a fence, and he falls off the top of it and hits the bottom, and then right when he hits the door slide, that makes the door slide open. It's just like there's so many great moments. Like,
and there's lots of types of jokes in this. There's line jokes where mostly from Neil, who just says things incorrectly, like that statue pissed at us. There's physical comedy when Norman's trying to wrestle the book out of his dead uncle's hands.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's just a great little slapstick scene. Lots of visual jokes.
Witchy wieners.
Yep.
Also really good.
The store names in this are fantastic.
Store and product names are amazing. Greasy bits was the chips.
Yeah, greasy pieces.
Greasy
are
pieces.
This chips that this redneck's trying to buy.
Yeah.
Norman watches a movie called Mondo Zombies, which I'd watch that movie.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, just lots of humor throughout the whole thing. When they turn. And the witch's curse is in full force, and they see this giant, like, witch tornado, basically, the huge imposing thing, and Norman's mom goes, you think that's where it's at? Just great little jokes.
Right.
Like, it never gets too morbid.
Right. But then even when they take it morbid, it's still played for laughs. Like, where she's like, we should pull over and ask someone where to go. And he's like, what do you want to do? Pull over to the next cemetery, dig someone up, and ask them where to go? And she's like, it's not a bad idea. And again, it's like that real moment of like, when two people are in an argument and no one will back down, except for the context of this is just, ridiculous.
Yeah. We're trying to find a witch's curse area. And yeah, they're having a domestic dispute. So,
is there anything you want to say about the stop motion?
I mean, it's amazingly fluid, and some of the animation they're pulling off is so complicated, but it never draws attention to itself and be showy. Like, look at all this cool shit we're doing. It's great little character moments, and it just makes it feel alive.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that you never feel like the stop motion gets in the way of whatever they're trying to do. So, like, when the toilet paper is flying around, and when, you know, anything, they're in the forest, they're in the city, they're in old times, they're in now, you never feel like, you know, oh, you know, the limitations of this made it so that we couldn't do something. Everything feels like, you know, it's done really well.
And they're doing some really cool camera moves. Like,
yeah.
A lot of stop motion is very static. Like, just by the limitations of the medium, it's a lot of still shots pointing at things. In this one, and in all of Leica's movies, they, like, swirl the camera around. There's pan ups, pan downs. Like, it's shot like a movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, a lot of like shallow depths of focus, which I really liked.
Yeah, there's focus
because it's like they're physical things, so you could just do that if you have, you know, good lenses.
And you know, one shot that sticks out to me, sitting here thinking about it, is their drama teacher is giving this big speech about the witch's curse that she's trying to do, and it's a shot where she throws papers in the air. As she's giving the speech, the papers drift down, and the camera is above her and then pans down and pushes in on her. And it's all one shot.
Mm-hmm. And she's moving all around at the same time.
Yeah, she's moving and pontificating and making all these faces, and it's, you know, it's a moment you get sucked into, and you don't think about it in the moment, but when you really sit down and look at it, that is very complicated animation.
That being said, also, the town feels very big. We never feel like we're cruising around the same parts of town over and over again. There's lots of exterior shots of driving. There's many different locations in this.
Yeah, it's not a big city, but it doesn't feel like they just repurpose a set over and over again. It's clearly a small town, but it has a lot of character to it and a lot of areas in it, and they explore them really well.
That being said, some of the character models in this movie are stone cold fucking ugly.
The mom?
The mom looks like a mongoloid. It's terrible.
Her head looks a little squished.
And the sister doesn't look much better. You know what I mean?
Those hips don't lie.
Those hips don't lie, but I hate to be this crass, but butterface. You know what I mean? And everyone else is just, I mean, the kids get the most charming look, probably for good reason. So does the uncle. The uncle looks good. You know what I mean? I'm not against it being weird. Like like the fat guys have little tiny legs and really big bodies, and the gay brother has really, you know, he's just like, you know, his body is just bizarrely shaped.
He's
too.
kind of built like Crash Bandicoot.
Right. Exactly. Oh yeah, he is.
He's like skinny all the way to his chest, and his chest just bulks out.
Right.
You know?
And so yeah, I don't know how anyone could have looked at that and been like, this is appealing.
But
I mean?
I think it fits the aesthetic of the town, though, of the no right angle straight lines look.
It does.
Of the character, like they fit into that world.
It does, but I just didn't like it, and I would have done it. It just. I mean, I think Coraline looks a lot better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. But I mean, ParaNorman's got great. His hair is great. His whole. That character just looking at him tells a story.
No, Norman looks great. The fat friend looks great. The other girl looks great. All the kids look good. You know what I mean? Even Alvin looks good. You know.
Yeah.
But just the adults all just hideous.
All very misshapen.
Yeah, you know.
Do you think maybe because it's from a kid's point of view they went for that?
It could be, but
adults are kind of twisted. Always looking up at
There's just
him.
no justification for that mother, dude. It is just upsetting.
And she's got mom jeans. Your ultimate worst fear. Besides shitty slow motion. Mom jeans.
Mom jeans, not a fan of. Shitty slow motion, even less fan of.
And the police woman who can knock a van over with her ass.
Yeah, I mean, you know, racial stereotypes.
She got quite the ass.
It's not good. One thing I'm glad about this movie. One thing I'm happy with this movie is that for a minute there, it seemed like they were justifying the Salem witch trials. Like there's a Nicolas Cage movie, Season of the Witch, where it's like in the Salem witch. It wasn't the Salem. That wasn't the Salem witch trials. That was like in Europe. But like they're like, you know, this girl's a witch, and she kind of is a witch. So it's like, you know, like that the Inquisition that we all know is rooted in complete nothingness is real. And like, this girl does have powers, but they in the beginning of the movie, it seems they make it like she's the evil one, and then the climax of the movie is you realize that she's just like Norman, but the times were worse, and the real villain is ignorance personified by the zombie people, also personified by the mob mentality of the adults in the town currently,
and personified by a lot of the signs in the town. Everything's named after witch. Their whole town is built around we killed a witch once,
right? Yeah, and it's a weird thing where it's like a mix between like being passive and being like a mob, where it's like we killed this witch once, so we're all gonna pretend like it wasn't a big deal, even though we know that there's no such thing as witches. Oh, they don't think that there's anything such as witches the way that we don't, and like it's kind of like that's a bloody past that should be like you should be kind of ashamed of.
But they stage children's plays about it,
right?
Where a bunch of kids go, "Kill the witch, kill the witch,"
right.
And they're like, "Aw."
Yeah. So then the climax of the movie is the reveal that basically she just had powers and they sentenced her to death unfairly, and she just kind of lost her humanity in that moment, which I liked a lot.
Yeah, it's a parallel to Norman's story where they both have the same issue. They get ridiculed, they get singled out. Norman takes it in stride and confides in people that understand him, which is Neil. He becomes friends with Neil, and I think that's what really helps Norman kind of get over the hump of like he's not going to become this bitter, angry kid. And then Agatha takes it out in a very personal way, in a very dark way, where she just wants to inflict her curse on everybody and wipe out the whole town. So it's approaching teenage angst in a really different way, in a really interesting way.
And another thing I liked about it is that it's like the movie is not pulling any punches. They're like the past was shitty. Like the past was like if you're a weirdo, like we'll kill you, And now it's like you're a bully. And then the future we're trying to create is not judging people. You know what I mean? And I feel like that is real life. You know what I mean? Where it's like when everyone talks about like removing like everything is too I'm a fan of wrestling, right? So all these old time wrestlers are like it's so PC now, and it's like it's not PC now. With the difference is that there was a dominant group and a bunch of small minority groups, and the way society worked was that if you're a small minority group, you can't stick up for yourself, right? That just wasn't of the times. And now we are of the times where you're expected to have respect for people, so you can't use gay slurs and racial epithets. You can't just toss those around because that's disrespectful and hurtful. And we're at a time now where it's like we're trying to be more human about these things. So if anyone who says like, "Oh, it's just so PC," it's like, no, you're just a prejudiced person who is a dinosaur in this era, and you need to just kind of go away. You know what I mean?
True.
Hulk Hogan.
Little bit. I completely agree with that.
What do you think that Norman's abilities tell him about grown-ups?
I think it's, again, how sort of what we were talking about, that they can use that to put you down, but you confide in the people who understand you, bring you up, and don't make it insular, don't make it a personal thing. It's just be who you are and don't let anybody get in the way. So his grandma tells him that, and she's from an old time. She says something along the lines of "Don't let fear define you." You know. I don't have the exact quote, but
right. It's also that's interesting that the grandmas of a different like the older generation, but like his dad's like, if I'm anything, I'm a true liberal, but I don't like any of this hippie stuff or whatever. So it's just interesting that's her kid. So there's an interesting thing going on there.
And they talk about how close he was to his grandma. And I think she realized what kind of kid he was, and that maybe he was going to be different, he was going to be bullied, and she just made it her life's goal and her death's goal, because she's still around. Because Norman says ghosts, not everybody becomes a ghost, because not everybody, some people have resolved all their issues, but the people who are ghosts tend to still have problems.
Or have died suddenly or violently.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, the grandma sticks around saying, like, it's another person for Norman to talk to about just being you, and don't let anybody else ruin that for you,
Interesting reveal here. Mitch, the fat boy's brother, is gay. this is a not a toss away line, but this is a quick line, kind of a joke made at the end of the movie where.
Well,
Anna Kendrick's character. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, the whole movie, Courtney, Anna Kendrick's character with the hips that don't lie, is hitting on Mitch, loves Mitch, has hidden pictures of him in her underwear drawer, is clearly sexually attracted to Mitch, and then at the end, she's like, "You want to come over and watch a movie sometime? You know, like buddy."
Netflix and chill.
Netflix and chill.
Netflix and chill.
In the parlance of our times. And he's like. He says, "Yeah, my boyfriend would love that too. He loves chick flicks." And then that's it. Like, he's not overly effeminate. He's not any kind of gay stereotype. But, yeah, it's just revealed very casually that he's gay.
Right.
You know, and that he's not afraid to just tell Courtney. Like, he's oblivious to her advances. Because I just think he's not attracted to her because he's gay.
Right.
And, yeah, it's kind of just a toss-away line like, yeah, you, me, and my boyfriend will watch chick flicks, you know? And I think, again, it's presented in a way where this town seems to be tolerant enough where he can just say that, and he could be shunned, but he's not. And it's interesting that they made that choice for him.
Do you think that revealing that at the end in that context speaks that these people are not necessarily as bad as we've seen them here? Because the way we've seen them here is that they see the zombies, they go ape shit, they form a mob, they want to kill, they want to, when Norman sticks up for him, they're like, burn him, hang him, you know, they're losing their mind, and then at the end the redneck guy is like, it's not me, everyone else had a bad influence on me.
Yep.
Right? So they're not owning up to their mistakes, and the drama teacher is like, oh, you know, I was just getting into character, you know, and it's just like they're not admitting that they made a mistake, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which fits into the plot of this movie. But do you think this is a grander statement that like they're not as intolerant as all that, or?
I think that's when we get into this place where we're scared and we don't understand. Then that's when we get into our little mob mentality. As Obama put it, we clutch onto our guns and our religion. And then people got mad, clutched their guns and their religion. Proved him right.
You fell into the trap. And the best part is I told you what the trap was.
Exactly.
Don't step in this bear trap. What'd you say?
Step in the bear trap.
Yeah.
No leg. And yeah, I think it's these people really, they want to be good, but they're still afraid of what they don't understand. So, which again is a metaphor for this world. Where we're striving every day, but we still have lots of ignorant folks out there who just want to make the world harder for other people. But yeah, the fact that a character is not the least bit afraid to reveal that he's gay in this world says something about it. I think. So.
Right. Switching gears a little bit to a little lighter fare. The film plays into some horror tropes. What do you think it has to say about? What do you think that has to say about kids and watching scary movies?
I think it's. Like we were talking about in the beginning, it's okay to expose them to something scary. Mm-hmm. So, you know, Norman watches zombie movies.
Yeah.
Not the greatest zombie movies in the world, but he watches zombie movies.
Yeah, really good where the boom mic comes in the shot and she bats it away.
Yep.
She has to take a deep breath screaming.
Yep. Yeah, kind of looks at
the camera.
A director off screen who's probably just like, keep going because we only have one take of film. And she screams again. And yeah, it's... yeah, I think, again, playing in theme of, like, this world is real. Like, there's death and violence and macabre everywhere, and it's okay that a kid understands that because it's going to help them grow and become who they are in whatever way it is.
What do you think the message about death is here?
That it's around and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That the sooner you understand it, the sooner you'll be able to cope with it.
I think there's also a message of like you have to like learn forgiveness and stuff, but at the same time, if you're shitty, you should stop being such a fucking asshole. Mm-hmm. You know, because like when it's revealed what the townspeople did to the witch, he's like, "How could you?" And the zombie admits he's like, "Yeah, like we were wrong." You know what I mean? And I do like how it's like if you are a perpetrator of injustice, you need to admit to your to your thing, and at the same time, as a culture, we all need to forgive stuff. I feel like it's always one way, not the other. It's like, well, the bad people are just the way they are, and it's like, no, but at the same time, fuck them, because they are bad. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think people are afraid of that because they don't want to eventually end up on that side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
you always want to be on the right side of history,
right?
But there's still people out there.
But I really don't like those transgenders.
Exactly. It's all those people out there protesting gay marriage. It's like you're gonna look just like the people who said when racial integration came around and they were all holding their signs up saying no to that.
Right.
And like that's an absurd notion in this day, you know. And it does teach. This movie is kind of about swallowing your pride and admitting when you fucked up, you know? And if a zombie can do it, you can do it.
Right.
Kind of thing. So
and if a girl can forgive who got lynched for being a witch unfairly, I guess we all should. I'm not really sold on that one just yet, but the horror tropes are something that the movie plays up and is not apologetic for, and the same thing with death. So, and I respect that about it. It's like, listen, kids aren't stupid, and if they're stupid, then I guess they're not gonna like this movie. We're not afraid. You know,
I picture that like any kid that's grown up in Brooklyn or LA and has like the parents with Radiohead albums on vinyl is gonna watch this movie.
Yeah.
They're not gonna watch Bambi.
And the kids in mid America who are looking for something outside of the norm.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, this is a movie released by a major motion picture studio. It's not an underground film by any means. But it is still. It doesn't give a fuck. That's the best thing about this movie. That it doesn't give a fuck what you think, right? It's like, listen, if you're shitty, don't be shitty. If you're hurt, forgive. Don't hate people who are different. And if you have any problem with that, we're not making any concessions. There's no character that you can be like, yeah, but good old Rusty Joe, he didn't like those guys. He's like, nope. Yep. You don't like our message, then that's it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think, it's
not trying to appeal to everybody,
right? But the people who get it will really get it.
It'll sing to them. Mm-hmm. Just like the other Leica movies are just the same way.
Yeah.
Especially box trolls.
Check
out them box trolls. I know you don't like bugs, and they eat bugs.
Also, too many bugs in this movie. All one slug. Too many.
And there was the flies that come out of the teddy bear.
Oh, right. Oh, that was a gross image. Let's get into nitpicks, because we're kind of getting into them already.
Alrighty. I've got a couple.
I've only got a few, so you start.
Alright, let me pull them up here. Alright, getting into nitpicks. The uncle really should have been played by Tom Waits. Holy shit. He would have been great.
You don't like John Goodman?
John Goodman's good. But I feel he didn't quite fit that character. And all I can picture is Tom Waits. When I look at that guy, just that real gravelly voice. Gotta get the witch's curse, Norman.
Should have been me. Should have been me doing that role.
Could have done it, I mean.
The mom's look, she looks so sad and dumpy. It's like they just made her just like it was like someone who hated women designing a character.
All right. I don't have issue with the way the mom looks. I think she fits the aesthetic of the world.
That's fair. That's fair. Consistent but terrible is what I'd say.
Let's see what else do I got here. I agree a little bit with Alvin. He didn't seem as threatening of a bully, and I would have bought his redemption or somewhat not being an asshole anymore, not necessarily being redeemed more if he was more of a punk earlier.
Yeah. So. I also, his look to me and his cultural whatever don't make any sense, but we've covered that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Not much else. Yeah, I really don't have anything else. Yeah.
All right. Cool stuff. The opening title, fucking fantastic.
The focus and coming up as still text over grainy film with organ music, and it's just great.
And then right into a zombie movie he's watching on TV.
Yep.
Just fun.
Brilliant. John Bryan's music, brilliant. This is a great score. John Bryan's a famous music producer and has kind of broken into doing scores a little more. Mm-hmm. So he's done Fiona Apple. He did one of her albums. He does a lot of work with Paul Thomas Anderson. He did the music for Step Brothers, oddly enough. So, yeah, his music is fantastic, and it works really good in this. Gives it a whole nother aesthetic. A very Halloween-y, fall, October aesthetic.
Totally. Anna Kendrick's contribution voice wise, fantastic. AK-47 for life.
Oh boy. Yeah, I like that they don't make the characters. There's a tendency in animation to make the characters look like the actor.
I think that's all but gone now, though.
I think they're moving away from it. But I really like this movie that nobody looks like the way they look kind of in real life.
That was no more worse than in Beowulf.
Oh, God. You reminded me of that. Now I'm mad.
Yeah, well, like they did that in Beowulf, and then Disney used to do that. But I feel like lately they're just like, listen, dude, like we can't let celebrity dictate the look of this fucking movie. You know, we gotta do what we gotta do.
Yeah, I do think that's an old school view. My favorite shot in this movie.
Oh, really quick, and also as an international medium that film is, it's like, I'm sure Anna Kendrick's a star all over the world, but like, you know what I mean? If you're getting voiceover, it's like, why does this character look like Anna Kendrick but is now going to be voiced by a different woman?
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you're in France, you know what Anna Kendrick sounds like, but she ain't doing the French dub for this thing. Do you know what I'm saying?
She's no Jodie Foster doing her own French dubs.
Well, and who is, Very few people. I think Christoph Waltz can do his own dubs.
Christoph Waltz can do, like, 3 languages in his own voice.
But, yeah, so it's like, there's a lot. I can't remember what animated movie. It's like I think like Shark's Tale, one of those, right? Where they all look. Yeah. Oh no, Shark's Tale or Ants, where they all look exactly like it. So it's like this guy looks like Woody Allen, but in Japan he doesn't sound like Woody Allen. In Turkey he doesn't sound like Woody Allen. In Russia he doesn't sound like. So it's like this character that looks like someone but doesn't sound like them. It just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, It's
a cute idea, but
it was something. I never liked.
Yeah,
know. But I'm glad in this and in most movies they're really moving away from that.
Yes.
My favorite shot in this movie is towards the beginning. Norman's walking around saying hi to dead people. They first show it from the perspective of people just looking at Norman.
Right, where he's a weirdo.
He's just kind of a weird kid. He's talking to a dead raccoon. He's saying hi to the air. Everybody thinks he's just kind of weird. It's Sean Norman doing that. Flips around, does a 360 or a 180. And then it follows him, and suddenly it's Norman's view, and the world is populated with ghosts. And we see Norman, and like now his behavior seems very normal. He's saying hi to all the different dead people he's passing. I just think that's a really great way to introduce us to Norman's world.
Right.
Because in the first shot, it's him with his grandma, but it's not revealed that the grandma's a ghost. They just say, oh, she's dead, but they don't say, like, oh, Norman talks to ghosts or whatever. And then that's the shot where it really reveals, like, this is Norman's world. And it's just a really efficient and really cool way to do it.
I agree.
So, yeah, like that a lot.
It's pretty good. A lot of great quotes in this movie. What are you watching? Sex and violence. Don't make me throw this hummus at you. It's spicy. You're crazy. Do I look crazy? And then he proceeds to look crazy.
Like that.
My favorite one is picking locks is my thing. Then cut to him throwing a stool through the window and unlocking it from the other side. Boom.
Boom.
And then the workout video quotes like, "Get the door. I'm busy. Are you freeze framing mom's workout videos? No." And then
cut to freeze frame of
a girl looking over her shoulder with her ass sticking out.
Another girl with hips that don't lie.
Those hips don't lie. And also, not a quote, but just Blythe Hollow, a great place to hang. Tasteless.
And Mitch has a lot of good quotes because he's kind of a brick. She's like, your deltoids look amazing. He goes, I've never taken deltoids. You can test me. Mitch has, I like when she goes, well, this is the kind of night I was expecting. And Mitch goes, yeah? That zombie thing really threw me. So, yeah, lots of good stuff.
Yeah.
God, I had another one. Hold on. If I remember it by the end, we'll do it there.
All right. So, you got a sequel idea for this?
Sequel idea. ParaNorman goes back in time and uses powers in Pilgrim times. Puritan times.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on this
I
pitch.
just came up with it.
My pitch is just Mondo Zombie.
Yeah.
And we just do that whole movie.
Yeah, just do every movie on ParaNorman's wall.
Right.
So
yeah, just
fantastic.
Straight to DVD, and then just these fucking terrible zombie movies.
Yep.
And monster movies and such.
Also, Norman's alarm clock and his zombie slippers.
Okay.
I want those.
I think they sold them at one point.
Sure they did. And he's got a zombie toothbrush. Like, his parents buy into his whole zombie love and aesthetic. So it's, it's nice that he's being well taken care of, Norman.
In the end, you like this movie, and does it work?
I really like this film. It really does work. If you kind of get into what it's talking about, you'll really get it.
I think it's great. I think it's really fun, and
I think it's perfectly okay to show to a kid, even though it does have scary moments and morbid moments.
Yeah, you gotta know your kid, right? If your kid's a scaredy cat, it's not gonna work. But if your kid is, willing to give this a shot, why not?
Oh, I remembered. I love the way they do the exposition of the witch's story.
Yes.
In the form of a school play. That's a really brilliant and efficient way to tell a story.
Yes.
I think so. That's really cool.
No,
Neil as the tree. He's like, bring her out. He's like, this is my big moment. And he kind of waddles out.
Yeah. Neil is the unsung hero of this movie.
I think he's really the one who drags Norman out of his funk a little bit.
Yeah.
Norman's can finally... Neil doesn't think Norman's weird. He actually thinks it's really cool that he can see dead people. He's like, you want to come talk to my dead dog? Let's go talk to my dead dog. Brings him home. And he really finds that kindred spirit in him. So, yeah, Neil really is kind of the hinge on this movie.
Yeah, maybe Neil gets his own... sequel. ParaNorman and Neil.
ParaNeil. Neil Norman.
I think that's it for us, right? I mean, you got any plugs or anything?
Just check it out if you haven't.
Yeah, go plug for ParaNorman. Go watch ParaNorman. Give this movie some love.
Go watch all the Leica stuff. They're doing really interesting films. And I think we'll continue to do so as they gain more popularity.
Yeah,
so.
they have no interest in sequels and no interest in anything but just original stuff. It's a bold filmmaking, you know what I mean? So
everything is driven with a really creative spirit and not at all is this going to appeal to a certain demographic that's going to make the most money spirit. It's like, we're going to tell the story we're going to tell, and we're going to do it well. So, yeah, check it out. Love it.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram,
Stitcher,
iTunes, Speaking Cinema. Our name is Speaking Cinema. Figure it out.
We're going to keep going with our spooky Jibber Jabber month, but hope you enjoyed ParaNorman.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Check out all our other ones, and keep it scary, folks.
Keep it spooky. Ooh. Until next time, see you later.
Peace out.
Directed by Chris Butler and Sam Fell, written by Chris Butler, produced by Lakia, and distributed by Focus, aka Sony, or
I believe
Universal.
I don't remember. Also, it's Leica.
Leica.
Do you want to redo that or
Yeah.
what do you think? So yeah, Leica. And yeah, let's confirm who Focus is owned by.
Yeah, Universal.
Okay, cool. Get those facts straight.
So what should I take it? Directed by?
Yeah, take them there.
Directed by Chris Butler and Sam Fell. Written by Chris Butler. Produced right when the air conditioner comes on. Of course.
Get this.
Why wouldn't it come on?
Get this on airplane mode here.
Yeah, my phone will be on silent this time. 5, 4, 3, 2.